Poetry. What was it and what is it? The essence of poetry, imaginative awareness of experience expressed through meaning, sound, and rhythmic language, rhythmical composition, written or spoken, language choices to evoke an emotional response. What is poetry for me? Poetry is the act of distilling, sculpting with words, taking a piece of stone and finding the form in it, carving away words until you have the essence. What is poetry for you? Hit the pause button and make up your own definition right now. Jot down words, thoughts, ideas, pictures, anything. Try to capture what you think poetry is and can be. The great poets introducing the almost all-white male poet parade, starting with Sir Walter Raleigh, 17th century England. The nymphs replied to the shepherd, "If all the world and love were young, and truth in every shepherd's tongue, these pretty pleasures might me move to live with thee and be thy love." William Shakespeare, 17th century England, sonnet number 18. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. William Blake, 19th century England, the tiger. Tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night, what a mortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? William Wordsworth, 18th century England. Daffodils. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Robert Frost, 20th century United States, The Road Not Taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Emily Dickinson, 19th century United States, A word is dead. A word is dead when it is said. Some say, I say it just begins to live that day. Langston Hughes, 20th century United States, A dream deferred. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore? Walt Whitman, 19th century United States, Captain, my captain. Oh, captain, my captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack, the prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells I hear, the people all exulting, while follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring. E. Cummings, 20th century United States. Anyone lived in a pretty how town. Anyone lived in a pretty how town, with up so floating many bells down. Spring, summer, autumn, winter, he sang his didn't, he danced his did. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, 19th century United States, Paul Revere's Ride. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere on the 18th of April in 75. Hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. Elizabeth Barrett Browning, 19th century England, sonnet number 43. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight for the ends of being and ideal grace. Edgar Allan Poe, 19th century United States, The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door, only this and nothing more." Beyond the white male poetry parade, the poets that could have made the list, there's great poetry from every culture and every perspective, starting with Li Young Lee, Chinese-American poet still writing. For a new citizen of these United States, after all, it was just our life, merely years in a book of years. It was 1960, and we stood with the other families on a crowded railroad platform. The trains came, then the rains, and then we got separated. Maya Angelou, African-American poet still writing, alone. Now, if you listen closely, I'll tell you what I know. Storm clouds are gathering, the wind is going to blow. The race of man is suffering, and I can hear the moan, 'cause nobody, but nobody, can make it out here alone. Sheila Radzowitz, poet with a disability still writing, I am not. Mangled, frail, delicate infant, weak, poor, ignorant infant, I was not. You did not have the power to define my fate with death. Crippled, feeble-minded, pitiful child, unable, immobile, lame child, I was not. James Baldwin, 20th century African-American gay expatriate poet, Some days. Some days you never say, oh, not me, never. Some days you say, bless God forever. Some days you say, curse God and die. And the day comes when you wrestle with that lie. Luis Rodriguez, Chicano poet, still writing, The Concrete River. We sink into the dust, Baba and me, beneath brush of prickly leaves, ivy strangling trees, singing our last rites of locura. Homeboys, worshipping God fumes out of spray cans. Sarah Kay, spoken word poet of mixed heritage, still writing, If I should have a daughter, If I should have a daughter, instead of Mom, she's going to call me Point B, because that way she knows that whatever happens, she can always find her way back to me. And I'm going to paint solar systems on the backs of her hands, so she has to learn the entire universe before she can say, "Oh, I know that like the back of my hand." Adrienne Rich, feminist poet, died in 2012 from 21 Love Poems. You kissed my hair to wake me. I dreamed you were a poem. I say, a poem I wanted to show someone, and I laugh and fall dreaming again of the desire to show you to everyone I love, to move openly together in the pull of gravity, which is not simple, which carries a feathered grass a long way down the upbreathing air. Anne Castillo, Mexican-American poet, still writing. Women don't riot. Women don't riot, not sober and earnest, or high and strung out, not of any color, any race, not the rich, poor, or those in between, and mothers of all kinds especially don't run rampant through the streets. Langston Hughes, gay African-American poet, 20th century. As I grew older, it was a long time ago. I have almost forgotten my dream, but it was there then, in front of me, bright like a sun, my dream. And then the wall rose slowly, slowly, between me and my dream, rose until it touched the sky, the wall, the shadow. I am black. Walt Whitman, 19th century closeted gay poet. Once I passed through a populous city. Once I passed through a populous city, imprinting my brain for future use with its shows, architecture, customs, traditions. Yet now, of all that city I remember only a man I casually met there who detained me for love of me. Robert Bly, men's movement activist, Caucasian, still writing. Call and answer. Tell me why it is we don't lift our voices these days and cry over what is happening. Have you noticed? The plans are made for Iraq and the ice cap is melting. I say to myself, go on, cry. What's the sense of being an adult and having no voice? Cry out. See who will answer. This is Call and Answer. Ophelia Zepeda, Tohono O'odham poet, still writing. Long hair. On the other side, they sing and dance in celebration. When we get there, our hair must be long so that they recognize us. Our hair is our dress. It is our adornment. We make sure it is long so they recognize us. You have just heard selected verses from great poems. Listen again and pick one that spoke to you. Bring in the full poem to class. Recite it, then tell us why and how it spoke to you.